Welcome to the show. If you're new here, hit the like button on your way in. And welcome to the Wizard Factory video podcast, where you subscribe for weekly videos exploring deeper understanding of the universe and ourselves. My name is Logan Hart.
And I'm Ryan Easterday.
And today we are joined by our good friend, Will Keller. Will is a parent. He is a great worker or an ambassador of truth and objective morality. He ran a entertainment label for over 15 years and featured artists and did music and all that cool stuff. And a very talented gardener as well. Love seeing your pictures on Facebook, man. You grow some like really awesome stuff. So welcome to the show, Will. We're happy to have you, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor.
Absolutely. So today's episode is going to be a pretty laid back, leisurely, just a chat among friends on some cool and relevant topics that we're all very passionate about and have, common interest in. So obviously, first things first, it's not a principle if it doesn't come first. So natural law, that's the foundation of everything at the base of the trivium. So it's where all of your informational processing abilities is based upon. So this is really like our biggest passion, the three of us, and Will's been really working his ass off lately, growing his reach with some new platforms in order to reach new people with this common message that we're talking about. So Will, what is kind of your focus? What's your individual approach to teaching natural law to new people?
Absolutely. It's such a all-encompassing category. So I like to bring it down to the basics, right? And and kind of define natural, the word, and law. So, natural being, not man-made, inherent in our reality field, in the universe, and law being, binding conditions that are immutable. And, it's not only the spiritual, it's also the physical laws too. So it's the mother science that, connects us to reality and the universe. So, and there's, correspondences with the human mind, the psyche, and the universe as well. So there's a lot of principles, and I just bring it down to the basics of, it's the underlining perimeters that govern our universe.
Yeah, there's a lot that you said in there. I love that you started with, I try to bring it down to the basics, because I think it's this idea of like what I like to refer to as complicated simplicity. Yeah, there's so much there, but you need to be able to simplify it. Like a great teacher isn't based off how much, but the way they're able to actually teach it in a way that they could even teach it to a child, which is something we're going to get into in this episode, as well as, stating the fact that it really is the study of the relation of everything in the universe. This is why, we're pagans or animists. Like this is what animism is. It's the study of nature and observing like how it interacts and how you interact with it, both like on the physical plane and on the metaphysical plane. So yeah, there's nothing you can't get into with it.
Exactly. It's universal law. It applies in all cases, in all ways. And that's why it's not only that we recognize it as so pervasive in everything that it should be the priority or the first primary kind of metric of gauging and discerning our reality, but it's understanding that a thing is what it is. It has its tendencies. Those are the natural laws at play there. But then there's how you can interact with that. And that's where you have the freedom. The law is set. You can't change that. But there's the ways in which you can interact with that same thing are infinite. And that's where the freedom comes in. And so again, you're going to be freed by coming to understand those things that you can't change. But then in discovering all the beautiful, playful ways that you can interact with that to produce different experiences that are going to give your consciousness and your soul those experiences that you're craving.
Yeah, keep going, Will. But yeah, the word playful, I think that people should think on that, like in the regards to how they go about interacting with the world.
Yeah, and I like that too. Playful and creative, right? I mean, with free will being the random component, and then natural law, the laws of nature being the deterministic component. I mean, you're really, that's a great combination for creation to thrive on. I was explaining it to a buddy too, and without trying to get crazy deep on him and get him lost in the terminology, I was like, well, natural law, it's like if you're playing a football game and you don't know the rules of the game, you're going to be all over the place. So once you understand the rules of the game, then you can utilize that and proceed forward.
Right. You don't get good at football or any game by ignoring the rules and just like, oh, well, now I'm free. I can just do whatever I want. You get good by learning the rules so well, all the ways to like navigate between them to produce the outcome that you want or that you will, right? Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like that you brought up too the different components where natural law is the deterministic factor, and then free will is it's the fluid factor. So it's the masculine and the feminine, right? They're the guidelines through which it is, but then there's the creative force that you interact with it. It's, it's intelligence. It's, this is, that's the principle of gender that we're observing here. Like this, this is what we say. It really is universal law. It's cosmic law that it applies in every situation. And the more you learn each one of these, and it's not just memorizing them and being able to repeat them, it's integrating them that matters. And when you start to do that, you see the connection between you and everything else. And life becomes such a beautiful thing to observe when you step into that place of awareness. Like, it's like we like to say here, awareness creates choice. The more awareness that you have of that cosmic law, the more free will and choice that you can exercise, and to get the outcomes that you want, just like Logan was saying, which this is what magic is.
Right.
You come up with creation and bring it into reality. And
that really struck me because you think about that, like Thomas Edison or whatever, that thing about like, I discovered 1,000 ways how not to do something, right? It's easy to pick a wrong choice, right? Jump off a cliff or something like that. You nailed it when you said to get the outcome that you want, because obviously, yes, that's an option, but who's going to do that? Because that would be stupid. Nobody wants that, right? The hard part is getting the thing you do want, because sometimes that thing is a very complex whole trajectory and timeline of events have to happen in order for that reality to become realized. So then that's where the nuance comes in. That's where having an understanding of natural law is so empowering, because it allows you to not only predict the future in a way, but determine the future. But it's like you say, Brian, because everything we do is a magical act, you still don't 100% know how a thing is going to turn out, because there's always a curveball, you never know when that's going to happen. It's not that your idea or that the law you were banking on didn't work or was not consistent. It's that another variable entered the equation that changed the outcome, because it's all about if this, then this. That variable was, but this.
Yeah, that's why the awareness of those variables is the essential part, because the more variables you're aware of, the better choices you can make. There you go.
Potential choices. That's
Love it.
That's good stuff.
And chance is just but law not recognized, right? And when you dive deep into the principles, I mean, it's like my passion, because it's ultimately pattern recognition. So and each principle it's a lifetime. It's just an onion. You just keep peeling it back. You keep lifting the veils, and you can observe more within yourself and in your environment, and all the correspondences, even the correspondences with the principles themselves. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. It's just it's like the most beautiful thing to observe. Like life really is just like this beautiful tapestry. It's so weird, for a reason. It's another reason I love the concept of the web weird. And, with, cosmic law and natural law, we can see that there's so many different traditions and understandings that are teaching it. There's like the Hermetic principles, But then there's also the same understandings coming in through like the Norse mythology with the web of weir of how we're creating our reality, how we're responsible for that. There's the Vedic tradition and understanding of things, I mean, it goes on and on. So again, because it's universal law, there are lessons to be found in like every indigenous culture, like everywhere you look, there's a lesson. So when you become a student of cosmic law, of natural law, you're becoming a student of like yourself and life and everything there. So everything becomes a chance to observe and to learn and to then be able to choose to improve.
And on something you said, Will, because you said something to the tune of chance is merely law unrecognized. And it made me think about that old saying. It's like even a broken clock is right twice a day, because that's that random chance. It just happened to work out that way, where you can kind of like throw shit at the wall 1,000 times, and then eventually something's going to stick, right? You don't even have to understand it. It's kind of the numbers game. But it made me think about the police, because people argue, police do good things and stuff. And it's almost like, because obviously if they had a true understanding of natural law, they wouldn't have ever actually become a cop or stayed a cop. Yeah. But they may do things that appear moral, but because they themselves don't have that understanding, it's like a lucky accident, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spirituality is unseen science, right? And then science is seen spirituality. So
right. Observable, yes, because everything is spiritual.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So
it's not isolated.
That's why I like observing it as well. Like you can once you see it, then you can kind of wrap it into all these different correspondences. So
yeah, beautiful. And so when we can look at cosmic law, we feel like at a fundamental level, like what's happening in the universe, like what's going on, what it is where consciousness experiencing itself by fractalizing itself into individuals that can then have different experiences to feed those co-experiences back to source. So it's a collective growing of consciousness. And I think one of the best ways in life to really observe that is through parenthood, because what else is a little fractal of yourself than your child? Like when I look at my son, like he's like my little mini me, like it's very, parenthood really made me see that, like, oh, that's what parenthood is you're literally like the universe continuing to create itself into existence to have more experiences. So obviously, if that's what we're all doing, that's the foundation. And cosmic law are the parameters, teaching our children in a conscious way. This understanding is really the foundation we should be building from as parents or stewards, mentors, however you want to look at the way you're raising your child. And I think that's why it's really important, as you said earlier, Will, to be able to teach it in a way that's simple, because you really can find a way to actually explain something to even a very young child. Like, even my son, he's like, 2.5. I explain like cause and effect to him. Like, hey, if you're going to do that, I don't just like tell him like, oh, don't do that. I try to give him the choice. Like, hey, if you do this, then this is likely to happen. And if he ignores me or whatever, then I just kind of let him have that experience. And then he learns from that, and obviously there's parameters within that. As a parent, you make sure they're not doing anything that they're going to like harm themselves. Mm-hmm. But, when it's like simple little things, that's a great chance for them to have that actual experience of cosmic law to learn directly from.
Absolutely, man. I agree with that. I came across this information and started applying it. That was 7 years ago. My daughter is now 7. So it's, it's been this tethered experience, and it's been magical. And I've had the most growth as a parent, and it's such a blessing. And I love interacting with my mini me, because she's definitely like a split version of me. It's a trip to even have this experience. But yeah, you're right. It's not about telling her what it is. It's kind of guiding. So giving them choices and then talking it out with them for sure. And it has honed in my teaching skills, teaching it to my daughter, because you have to go simple, you have to go basic, and and they get it. They get it, especially like working in the gardening, in the garden, or going out on a hike or something like that. You can easily point those out. And there's a funny stage that a child gets to. It's the why stage, and a lot of parents like, oh, I'm dreading the why stage. Like, shut up. Why? They
That's
keep
the
asking
best
it.
part.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that
The
stage.
most important question of all.
Absolutely, and it's during the most important time of their life too, the formative years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is a huge opportunity for parents to really take advantage of that and help be that guiding force to sculpt their foundation of their operating system, their mind, their cognitive abilities.
That's wonderful.
I love that.
Logan, I know you have something to say, but after that, I totally have something to say.
Yeah, we're all firing on all cylinders here. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff, man. I love the way you put that. You guys are both, crushing it. And as far as the why, that is the question that points most to natural law, because it's the causal factors. Why? Because. And even the way you're talking about, like, cascading the degrees of complexity of knowledge and truth, because knowledge is just our obtaining of truth. It's the concept. It's not actually any different, because that piece of knowledge that isn't true is simply just a belief. It's not knowledge at all. Mm-hmm. So anyway, thinking about it in terms of explaining it to a child, it kind of reminded me of these videos I've seen on YouTube where it's like music theory explained in 6 different grades or something like that, where the first one, they're explaining music theory in like this very, very basic, simple, rudimentary form, and each one it's building on and explaining the same kind of thing, but a lot more like intricate and complex. But that's the way truth is, right? Like, truth itself, there is no degrees of it. It's all there right now. It's only waiting for you to discover its infinite complexity. But when it comes to the mind and the way that it categorizes and structures things, it's useful to think about those kind of like degrees or fractals even. That's why I'm getting at this parallel of the parenting. Yeah. Their consciousness from birth is going through those stages of evolution themselves, from the rudimentary, the very basic stuff. And then they hit the why phase, and that's when their consciousness is literally ready to start saying, I want to know everything about natural law. That's what's so messed up, is this is now this subject that we have to teach. It's super niche and nobody knows about it, and there's only a few teachers doing it. Yet it's like natural to every human baby born, or not even human, but just in general. Like, it's mind blowing.
I love everything you said there. And Will, I think you really hit on it when you're pointing out that why phase, that's when they're starting to learn about natural law. It's during their cognitive development and those formative years where they're really figuring out who they are. And it reminded me of something that I like to think of as that questions are keys that open gateways to new realities. And what are children but like imaginative, especially at that stage? They start storytelling and they come up with just the craziest shit. It's hilarious, like what they'll say. But at that stage, like, that's where they have like so much magic, and that gets programmed out of us, because when you're questioning and you're open to all these different possibilities and you have this imagination, if you can learn to ask questions that will literally, you can step into new realities, so to speak. And then how to create with that. You're teaching children at the formative stage, like how to be magical for the rest of their life, to where they can really create what they want, rather than having to just conform to what society is saying. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a major control point of where people are going to become sovereign individuals, and be raised as healthy children, or they really start taking on the programming of the family and the society and the world around them. This is a very pivotal point to understand. And I think the fact that the why stage is something that, like, a lot of parents like, oh, I can't stand it. Well, maybe that's because that's their own uncomfortable feelings because they've never asked why themselves, because they were put down for asking questions. And they're just repeating that cycle of trauma and emotional abuse to their children on an unconscious level. And that creates that unconscious feedback loop that we've talked about on the show before, that we just got into with the episode with Michael Denny, the Thunder Wizard, which if you haven't checked that out, check that one out too. And let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. What is your experience on this,
Yeah, you just dropped a ball right there, bro.
Oh yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, Brian, that was great. You both made excellent points. And I mean, to me, people that understand truth, natural law, and they have children, they're in a very unique opportunity to break that spell that, the cultural programmers, the social engineers are just instilling. It's the perpetual cycle that can be broken. And to me, it's one of the most important. And unfortunately, I see, parents stepping into that authoritarian role so quick, and it is unconscious because they've been programmed. What I love about being a parent is that I now can see my flaws, and I can, because it's, my daughter's a mirror pretty much. I can, if she's acting out in a certain way or, having some kind of behavior, I can look at myself and be like, well, where did she get that from? Am I projecting that onto her? And so it's just a phenomenal learning process and extremely important in today's world.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you one thing real quick that I love doing too is I remember my brother had an imaginary friend when he was younger. And I remember the elementary school pulled my parents aside and asked them, is he okay? Like they were making it seem like there was some kind of mental issue there. And my dad and mom, bless them, they kind of brushed off the school. And now I'm a parent and I'm looking at my daughter and I'm doing dress up. I'm doing imaginary worlds with her and everything. I mean, the imagination is the paintbrush of manifestation, right? So it's she loves to get in that world and I dive right in with her and amplify it. And
that's beautiful. So, I remember now too, what I was going to say is like, it's astounding to think too, how we are certainly in a spiritual war currently, but the worst part is that the fucking children are on the front lines of the attack. They are being targeted even more than adults are. And it's up to the parents to protect them because they have no idea what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's so important to integrate these kind of foundational understandings that we're talking about and let that be expressed in the way that you're interacting with the world, but especially the people in your life, the people that you care about and the people that you're supposed to be protecting and raising and nurturing.
I love that. That's excellent. Because what we're really getting into here is Jupiter. Like it's wisdom, it's knowledge, it's abundance, and he's the Karka of parenthood. He's the teacher. He's also a protector, even Jupiter, because let's remember, like all the esoteric understandings that of the metaphysical that we bring from astrology, they're all based off of astronomy and cosmology. So Jupiter, we can see in our solar system that he is the protector. He's so large that he draws all these other, comments and things like that are out there that could harm our planet. He draws them into himself and he takes all of those. If you see that as a metaphor for, like Logan said, the children being under spiritual attack, like us on Earth, those things would wipe us out had the teacher not been there. So these are very Jupiterian lessons, and this is, I think it's highlighting a very good, a fundamental thing that so many people think spirituality is about being out there or going and being the guru or the monk that's off in the woods, or they seem like everything's perfect. Like the real teacher is Jupiter, and the way he does that is through being a parent, being a conscious parent, a conscious teacher. Jupiter expands things, he protects things, he's wisdom, he creates. These are all things that, like, as a parent, you're really doing, and running away from the world in some kind of escapism or to pretend that it's all perfect all the time. That's not it. They're like, if you really want to test yourself as a person, be a parent and deal with a toddler who's screaming at you and you're just at the point of exhaustion, and you still can't, like, you don't just get to stop being a parent. Like, that's something you have no fucking choice but to face yourself in that mirror and work on it. Like you're saying, well, they really are the greatest reflection for us to learn from. And it's like the greatest guru out there is like a man who really knows how to be a conscious parent. And he expands knowledge and wisdom and abundance, and he's a protector, and he does all these things that Jupiter does, not only for his children, but everyone else in his life around him. And he's a man that's involved in the world. Like, he realizes it's not going on in the other dimensions. You know, like this is what matters. Like, we're here for a reason. And a man who is focused in that, and he's paying attention to awareness so he can help create better choice for himself and others, that is the real teacher.
Damn. Well said, man.
Yeah, man.
So kind of as an offshoot of this topic, something that we wanted to get into here was co-parenting, which you guys both have more direct experience. I have some indirect experience, but would you like to get into that one?
Oh yeah, that's a whole bag of lessons in itself. But I've had it smooth, I can say. But, you know, co-parenting, there's one thing that it's going to help you work on yourself as well, because you can't force anything on anybody. So, you know, what I know I can't force that on my daughter's mother, but I can create those conversations and try to get to that foundation of communication to values, and, you know, explain those. You know, I mean, she won't follow me down the esoteric rabbit holes, but bringing it down to values, because values are so easy to explain. You know, moral values, the basics. Exactly, for sure. So we agree on those, and which is crucial. And you know, it's a partnership, and you don't want to make it hard on yourself. So it's, you know, there's compromise and there's patience. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have had quite the experience with this, and I'm still very much in the process of navigation. I'm fairly easy to work with. My son's mother is a bit more stubborn, and has, you know, as Logan can, you know, vouch for, has not necessarily made things easy at all. So, like, I love that you said that it's just another chance for reflection. You know, in astrology, we can look at the houses. The first house is the sense of self. What's directly across from that? The seventh house, the relationships. Our relationships and our interactions in the world are actually what allows us to test ourselves. Like, the self that hasn't interacted with others is an untested self. Mm-hmm. So even a very difficult co-parenting situation like mine, that I could get into all sorts of craziness, but it has not been easy at all. Even with my skills and knowledge and awareness and willing to work, it is a challenge constantly. But that really allows me to test myself. It's these Saturnian lessons that can be very difficult. They feel like you're being crushed, and you like can feel stuck sometimes, but like, that's what makes you have to look, okay, like, why is this happening? What were the causal factors? Where was cosmic law at play here? Where was my lack of awareness leading me to situations that, you know, are situations that weren't my ideal outcome? Because it has to come back to self-responsibility. Like, if I hadn't have made certain choices, then I wouldn't have to be dealing with that certain person, you know? So, you know, it's all a chance for reflection, and it can be a very wonderful process, like if it goes smoothly. But even if it's not going smoothly, like, you ultimately still have your free will and your sovereignty, and you just have to learn to exercise boundaries, and you have to learn to take that chance to reflect and learn, even if the other parent may not do that, because you just have to try to create the best situation you can for the child, you know? So if you can cohesively, like, you know, like you said, bring it down to values and morals and agree on those things, then that's great. But sometimes you might even have to have the choice of just understanding that, like, well, you can't control this other person. Just like you said, well, you can't control the other person. So you then have to be like, okay, I'm going to make the best choices I can, because you can only do what you can do. So you just have to become a better example, or really give that opportunity. So then that child then has a choice of like, okay, where are my values going to lie? Like, what really makes sense to me?
Yeah, again, I can offer insight from what I've experienced secondhand, as far as what seems to me that what you just said is really the hardest part about being in that situation, is the fact that you can't control that other person. All you can do is worry about you and what you're doing. But I was just thinking about how, like, okay, in the context of natural law, you have events and people making decisions. There's all these things happening, both from people's direct choices or just things that are happening, like other inanimate objects kind of bouncing off each other. They're creating situations, right? And so what is a situation? Well, it's something that may or may not affect you. If it's a situation, that's your first question. Does it affect me? Is it going to impact me in some kind of way? What you said earlier, Brian, also is that once you're a parent, you don't have that choice. Even if you just run away to the other side of the globe, you're still a parent. You're just a parent that ran away.
A shitty one. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. So you're in that situation with this other person, regardless of that's unchangeable. That's just a fact now. And so there's certain roles, and because that situation is now like this sort of like team dynamic. Well, we're in this situation, so we are responsible for navigating it. And again, I can't imagine how frustrating that must be to have these certain needs, especially when there's an innocent child is the one that's being affected most of all, even beyond the two of you. And you can only control 50% of that situation there.
Yep.
So yeah, it's like trying to offer that, extend that example, and going first, saying, I'm willing to do values, meet me here, please. And if they don't, then it becomes a lesson for you to practice letting go of what you can't control, only focusing on yourself. And I mean, maybe trying to insulate yourself from the effects of that other person as well.
Dude, something big just hit me. So in that situation, it's your choice, that 50% that you can control. That's the deterministic factor that you have. The other 50% is the free will and the chaos that's in the universe. So it's order and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And you just are trying to learn to harmonize between those. Yeah. And like you said, you don't always know, like with magic, you don't always know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
You never know how it's going to play out, actually. And that's just the thing, is like you have to try to observe, get as much awareness as you can, try to make the best choices you can, continually observe and refine. And that is the process of
because
development.
Your job is the same either way. All you're trying to do is find equilibrium, find homeostasis, find harmony. It's just up to that person how fucking hard they're going to make it for you to do that.
Yeah.
Are you going to work together to fight the chaos of the universe already? Or is she going to join the chaos and make it just that much harder, and then it's all on you?
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a level of knowing, kind of how to protect yourself and your energy, not getting triggered off of, petty anger or letting the ego get the best of you. So, leading by example and, trying to engage into communication as best as possible. Yeah, I mean, it can be a tough road for people. So,
right. And this obviously goes for men or women. This happens on both sides of the fence. We're not trying to make it about any one gender or anything like that. And I've observed a lot. This happened to very close friends of mine, where their partner is literally using like the kids as an emotional weapon to just stab the dagger in and twist it over and over. Because again, it's like a true narcissist is going to identify and exploit that fact that you said, Brian, that you don't have a choice to be a parent now. They can take that thing that you can't get away from, and that's them twisting the knife every single time. If they want to move out of the county unexpectedly and keep you from seeing them, or all that type of stuff, this stuff goes on all the time. And to me, it's just some of the most abhorrent behavior. And I've never even had to I've never had to feel that myself, and I still feel that way. That is just awful to use a child as a weapon against somebody because you're that much of a psychopath.
It's a very like terrible place to like get put in, or like as a position, like as a father, because you want to be that protector, like in things, and like it just sometimes, like I said, you can just only do what you can do and like keep trying and then learn healthy boundaries and learn how to try to navigate that situation as best as possible. But that is not something that is done overnight. And yeah, being put in that kind of position where you think your kids might get taken from you, or, you know, whatever it is, like they might threaten to put you in jail, or, you know, they might break your, any number of fucking things, you know, it fucking sucks to be put there, like, and you can feel very stuck. Like, that's why I was mentioning, like, these are very Saturnian lessons, but, you know, guess who's a bringer of natural law and karmas and things? It's Saturn. And it's just something that you have to learn to get past feeling crushed by Saturn and just look at Saturn as neutral. Cause like when I do relationship consultations, most planets are associated with masculine or feminine. Saturn and Mercury are neutral. Mercury's neutral for the sense that he's very friendly. He goes around. He just wants to be friends with everybody. Saturn's neutral because it's cosmic law. It just is. It's not good or bad. It's not trying to harm you directly as an individual. It's just something that is, and that you have to learn how to navigate.
Right.
So
Again,
when you can step into when you can step into that place, or even Mother Hella would be another great example.
Exactly.
You know, you step into this place of just learning that, like, okay, yep, this fucking sucks sometimes. And I just have to do the best I fucking can because there's something that's more important than me, because I understand how important the developmental phase is of that young child. And that, like, if they get crushed, like by, you know, like it's so hard for them to have to undo that damage. Like, you know, many of us, like, we didn't come to this information through an easy experience. It was like having to go through life and have like a lot of very crushing experience that made us have to step back and reflect and observe. You know, that's why I mentioned Mother Hela. She appears, you know, this is, for those who aren't familiar, this is the Norse goddess of the underworld. She appears sometimes like as a half beautiful maiden, half skeleton, depending on like what you are, you know, or what you have to reflect back. You know, she's just a mirror. She just reflects back both your darkness and your light. And these situations, these Saturnian lessons, she's associated with Saturn, that's what they do, is they reflect back both the light and the dark, so you can observe it, become aware, and then continue to try to make better and better choices. And yeah, it's, you know, parenthood could be a very wonderful, beautiful experience. And it's also the thing that like will test you as an individual the most. Because you're dealing with teaching a young child, you're dealing with another person trying to raise that child. There's a lot of variables that go into it that you have to learn how to navigate through.
I will say this on a positive note as well, but you know, it all comes to the surface. At the core, you're a parent, you know, teaching your child. When that child grows up, any kind of, you know, negative karma will come to the surface and be seen. So your impact on your child will definitely, in the long run, have a benefit to his or her development.
Yep.
And you know, if the other parent is creating turmoil, I think that will be seen by the child eventually and through growth.
Yep.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And it ties in perfectly with Saturn. You know, it takes a long time to move, so those lessons take a while, but eventually, when it comes, it's there, and it stays there.
Right. It's like when gravity gets harder, your legs just get more muscular. Like you respond to it in that way, and then you have that strength that you're carrying
because of that. Yeah, exactly. So you know, it's an experience that teaches you a lot about yourself. to be short.
So the next thing we wanted to kind of get into here, because Will, you know, you're very active. You're out there doing stuff. You're you know, making content. You're connecting with people. So we wanted to discuss, you know, this concept of network to cooperate and to communicate, to reach more people, and then potentially like discuss this new network coming out called the One Great Work Network as well. So like currently what are you most working on in terms of networking?
Yeah, networking is a crucial category for people to be in, right? I mean, we're trying to have unity consciousness, people on the same level of, truth and morality. So why not start in our smaller circles with people that understand this information? So I've reached out to a lot of people and did some interviews, and I have, conversations, and we have, Zoom meetings and stuff. And it's great to connect with like-minded individuals and help each other's causes, because ultimately, we're at a spiritual war and we're on the same team. So networking is crucial. And that's something that takes me back to my, my entertainment label days when I was a musician. It was all about networking. If you wanted to get into the clubs, you better talk to the owners and build those relationships and stuff like that. It was just on a different type of scene. But I'm working on a website, willtellthetruth.com, and then ultimately it's just a series of videos teaching natural law and objective morality. But making those connections with people is great, just to unify.
Yeah, I like that networking comes up because in astrology we can see that that's associated with the Aquarian energy, which is originally like from the 11th house. The 11th house is also known as the house of gains. So whether you're doing business or you have some kind of a goal to achieve, there's something you want to gain, networking, that's very much a part that like can help you achieve that, because then you're bringing in more minds than just yourself. So as the 11th house also deals with like bettering society, like actually learning all the hard lessons of the 10th house of like Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. And then you get the better lessons of Saturn, which is the Aquarian energy, where you start to, okay, this is how things are. We realize that, if we want a better world, we have to not only recognize that we're sovereign as individuals and have to work hard to achieve that, but we have to start networking with others and continuing to spread that awareness. And it's through that society that we all really gain, that society is then improved. It's also associated with science, like with learning, all these kind of things that what natural law is. It's science. You're practicing, you're observing, and then seeing what happens. You're coming to know. These are definitely areas, that anybody should really focus on, are all these kind of 11th house areas. I think those in the truth community, this is what we need to realize that we're doing. This is where we need to put our focus on, because we all have something we're trying to gain, and it's freedom, right? So that's done through making the right connections, through actually trying to do things that are going to better the world. So we're taking ourselves out of the place of just thinking about the individual, and we're expanding in. Like I said earlier, the self without interacting with others is the untested self. Like this is our chance to actually go out and test ourselves and see what results we produce from that.
Excellent. So
Will,
tell the viewers, what is the One Great Work Network, this new one that's about to be launched soon?
Yeah, the One Great Work Network, hosted by Mark Passio, the one and only, and oneonearthishappening.com. So this network is it's an umbrella of content creators that can come, and pretty much what it is people putting out content that focuses on the cause. There's a lot of people that are focused on the symptoms, 5G, chemtrails. I mean, you can go down all these rabbit holes and still relevant, but it's the symptoms. So One Great Work Network is a network about the causal factors, and it's gonna be great, man. Mark's really making it efficient and easy to use, and it's a platform for people to get their content out there, and I think it's gonna do well.
That's a really great way to explain that it's that's a good way to kind of put that in terms of the focus. It's a platform of content creators that are putting out stuff that's trying to present the same message. Here's the cause of the problems, the most fundamental, deepest rooted cause of everything that everybody's aware of, those symptoms happening. But teaching it in their own individual way, in their own, singing their own song, if you will. So I think it's really exciting. And we wanted to present this and ask the viewers, what do you think about us featuring our content on there? And do you think that sounds cool? What would your suggestions be? What type of content would you want to see there? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, those were all, a lot of great stuff that we covered there. So that's going to wrap up this one for the week. If you guys haven't yet, go check out our free initiation package at thewizardfactory.com. It's completely free. That will get you some foundational, like a toolbox video series of different practices that you can kind of use to start doing self-development, as it also gets you access to our Wizard Factory Inner Sanctum group on Facebook that we're going to have a lot more personal interaction and things going on there. So if you want to interact with us, that's a great place to do it. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get notified. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this. Yeah, until next week, be empowered, be inspired, and be encouraged.